Rob Thomson, if life worked out like you thought it might in 2022 and you decided to retire after the season, what are the odds that at some point you might have found your way maybe to a Toronto Maple Leafs playoff game this week in downtown Toronto?
I'd probably be there. Although, the traffic in Toronto isn't the greatest. So a lot of times I like sitting on my couch and having a cold beer and just watching the game. But yeah, it's pretty exciting up there right now. Being a Leaf fan, and but they got a tough task here with the Bruins. Bruins are good.
Yeah.
You know, they're gritty, and although Toronto's really skilled, but the big boys they need to show up.
Mm-hmm. Have you had a chance to see much hockey in action? I mean, the seasons, especially playoff wise, for the last 40 some Aprils, you've been knee deep in baseball. Really no chance to get to some Stanley Cup playoff action.
I was really hoping I was disappointed the Flyers didn't make it. No, we watched the game last night after we were done. Because what a great season they had. You know, really overachieved, and a really fun team to watch. But yeah, I haven't really been able to follow hockey very much. You know, we're so involved with the baseball on its daily basis, and it's advanced scouting and then game time, and so there's a lot going on in April, and so it's tough to follow it.
No doubt. We'll get into your path. Born in Sarnia, and you made a name for yourself playing for the Stratford Hillers. Yeah. Does this mean that you're the only major league manager that would be able to tell me who the Stratford Streak is?
Oh, geez, probably Howie Morantz. Yeah,
of course. So did you, like most Canadians, did you play hockey as a kid?
Oh, yeah. I started, 5 years old. That's when the league started. And I played till I was like 16 or 17. I was a stay-at-home defenseman. Not a whole lot of skill, but I was pretty good at staying there and clearing out the front of the net and going in the corners and banging, but not the best skater on the team, not the best shooter on the team, but I was decent at defending the net.
What drew you to baseball?
Probably my father and my brothers. I have two older brothers. One's 13 years older than I am. One's 10 years older than I am. So I was always the bat boy for them when they were kids. And my father was a coach and very intelligent baseball man. And I just fell in love with it. I mean, I loved hockey in the winter. And I loved baseball in the summer. And, everybody'd say, oh, what's your favorite sport? Well, depends on what time of year it is.
I bet. When you talk about the Leafs, give me like your vintage of team. Like, were you, I guess, a little bit too young for the 67 team?
Well, yeah, I would have been 4 years old then, but I've been fortunate because I have a mutual friend of Davey Keon. And so I've got to meet my favorite player growing up. And then, and then the Sittler era came in, Boris Salming and those guys, and then the Dougie Gilmore era came in, and so they've, I've been watching them for a long time, and continue to watch them. They're a fun team to watch because, like I said, they're so skilled and so fast. And Matthews and Marner and Nylander, I mean, they're just great players.
One of my favorite things about talking to Canadians is obviously there's always someone nearby that you knew growing up that somehow made it to the NHL. In the U.S. here, it's so rare. Did you have anyone from your town or area that made
Paul
it?
Isabart played in Moortown because I was born in Sarnia. I grew up in Corunna, Ontario, which is just a little town outside of Sarnia. And our hockey arena was actually in Moortown, which is even a smaller town than Corunna. And Paul lived in the area, and he played. He was a little bit younger than I was, but he ended up going to the NHL.
And then did you have anyone kind of cross paths with you since you've been in baseball that, you make connections? Obviously now in Philly, probably get a chance to meet John Tortorella and others. What's the connection like between, baseball and hockey? I'm sure there's lots of mutual fans.
Yeah, there is. And although I haven't met Torch yet face to face, but we've texted back and forth, and I'm going to text him today and congratulate him on a really great year. I know they had that run of that losing streak, but if you take the season as a whole, I think they were very, They really overachieved and they did a great job. But I do want to play golf with them at some point during one of our off days this year.
Has there been a lot of support between the coaching staffs in the town, like between Eagles and Phillies
no
and
doubt.
Flyers
No
and Sixers?
doubt. I think everybody in this town, the coaches really support each other and support all the teams. And I mean, we're in a really fascinating time here in Philadelphia because all the sports teams are really good and playoff contenders. And it's really kind of a special time.
So let's talk about your path and how you made it to Philadelphia. You drafted by the Tigers in '85. You play in their minor league system for a couple years. How did you get the itch to coach?
Well, probably because I wasn't good enough to play. But the Tigers at that time, in the minor league system, this is, late 80s. I was drafted in 85. I started coaching 88, 89. And at that time, there was just a manager. There wasn't even a pitching coach. There wasn't a hitting coach. It was a manager. He did everything. And the Tigers had a coach in A-ball, or manager in A-ball, by the name of Johnny Lippon, who was getting older in years and was, he needed help throwing batting practice and hitting bungos and things like that. And so I think probably the Tigers were going to release me at some point, but they offered me a coaching job and to help Lip out. And I did. And I loved it. And I just got married, talked to my wife, and I said, what do you think? And she said, you got to trust your instincts and do whatever you think you need to do. So I did. And I spent 2 years in the minor leagues coaching for the Tigers. And then I ended up going to the Yankees. And I spent 28 years there. And in 18, I think it was, I came here first year here as a bench coach for Gabe Kapler. And I've been here ever since. And I absolutely love it here.
So when you are working your way through the Yankee system, obviously go through the different minor league levels, and you were all over the map in terms of where you were based, sometimes year to year. Then you become director of player development. You then are essentially helping organize all the different teams in the minor league system to then make the jump to the majors. Your idea, or what brought you to the majors?
Well, Joe Torre, so when I was running the minor leagues at the spring training camps, I'd also run the major league camp. And Joe Torre one year asked me if I'd like to come to New York and just sort of be a major league field coordinator. And again, talked to my wife, talked to my bosses with the Yankees, and everybody was all in. So that's what I did. And Joe ended up going to LA to manage the Dodgers, and Joe Girardi came in and he offered me the bench coach job. And that's how it all got started. And I was with Joe for a long time. And then ended up Joe getting fired. The Phillies offered me the job here as bench coach, and so I took it. And I'm really glad I did, because I really love this town and the fan base and the organization, how they treat people. It's really a great place to be.
What does that say about following your gut and your instincts? I mean, the spots that it's taken you, and maybe some paths that you probably also didn't expect at the same time, is just intuition? Is it right place, right time, preparation? What is it?
I think I'll say this, I'm an extremely hard worker, and I always have been. But you have to get some breaks along the way, and you have to be in the right place at the right time as well. And I've been very fortunate to work with great people all the way through. I've learned so much from so many people. It's just amazing. And then, just like this job, I fall into this job. We got this really good team. We got off to a bad start. Unfortunately, Joe Girardi gets fired, and then we just take off. And I kind of pinch myself every day, because it's just, throughout my career, it's just been one thing after another. It seems it's just gone my way, and being in the right place at the right time, meeting the right people at the right time, and things have just worked out.
even what brings you to Philadelphia. You spent 28 years in the Yankees organization. I read the reports at the time, you had interviewed for the manager position, you didn't get it, and you decided to leave. I'm sure even walking away from New York was probably a tough decision for you.
It really was. And because I always felt like I was going to retire a Yankee, because I'd invested so much there. But now I'm positive I'm going to retire a Philly one way or the other. I think once this gig is over, in whatever way it ends, this will be it, because I don't think I can replicate the fun and the people that I get to work with every day like I do here.
I'm glad you mentioned fun, because I watch your Phillies team really closely, and actually what drew me to them in 2022 was that it seemed like no one has more fun than them. And you look at, we hear all the time in sports, culture is such a big buzzword, but it seems like your players just have a chemistry that they want to play for each other. That's what it comes across to me as a fan watching. What's it like watching it up close?
That's all it is. It's just fun. I mean, these guys come in here, they're here early. So I have like some pillars that all I want them to do: prepare, compete, be professional, be selfless in every way, and be yourself. So have fun. And if we do those 5 things, we have enough talent to do whatever we can, and reach the highest, reach all of our goals, reach the highest level. And that's what they do. They come in here and they prepare and they have a lot of fun, and they go out and they compete and they have fun doing it, and they play for each other. They love each other. And I couldn't have a better group.
This is obviously the first time I've had a chance to chat with you, and you mentioned, be yourself. Have you changed at all along the way in your 40 years in baseball? You kind of strike me as a guy that, hey, I am what I am, take it or leave it. Have things for you, personality-wise, have you changed, or are you true to yourself?
I'm pretty true to myself, but I think everybody adapts over time, and I've changed some of my ways. Like, when I was a young coach, it was work. We're going to take batting practice every day. We're going to take infield, outfield every day. We're going to get here early. And now I've learned over the years that sometimes you got to back off and give people some rest and let them recover, and so little things like that. But as far as who I am, I think I'm pretty true to myself.
And how much has the game changed?
Oh, quite a bit. I mean, I think the players are just like hockey. I think there's so much more skill in the game today, just raw tools. Now players come through the system a lot quicker nowadays. So we're still teaching the game at times up here, how to play it, how to execute, how to move a runner over, little things like that, little detailed things. But they're highly skilled, more skilled than ever. And also with the new rules and things like that. So the game has changed over time, and the analytics part of it, the game has changed a great deal since I started.
You mentioned sometimes as a manager taking your foot off the pedal a bit to maybe give guys an extra day of rest or whatever it might be. When talking to NHL coaches, one of the big things that pops up is almost half their job, it feels like at times, is amateur psychologist. In terms of the mental aspect of the game, just whether it's engaging in conversation, getting to know guys, how much do you feel like that part of it is a strength for you and how you deal with players and community?
Yeah, I think it is a strength, but because it's a huge part of this thing, to make sure that people are confident. One of my goals every day is that every player, and it's impossible, but every player leaves this building, goes home, and they feel good about themselves, about what they accomplished every day. Now that's impossible. So the guys that don't do that, it's the coaching staff, it's our mental skills people, it's myself, making sure that when they show up the next day that they're in good they have a good mindset and they're ready to go and prepare and compete and go out and play. So it's a huge part of it. It really is. And I think between myself and our staff, I think we do a really good job at that.
Expectations are something that, working in New York, you're used to and dealt with. This Phillies team having gotten to the World Series, and then last year, really tough series against Arizona. That mental mindset, how do you manage that? How did you manage that going into the offseason last year?
Well, I think you have to clear your mind and really look at it from the standpoint of, okay, what do we need to do to get better? And one of the things that I talked about was getting off to a little bit better start so that we really don't have to push it at the end to get in. And we've done that. Always want to get off to a little better start, but our record is better than it's been since I've been here anyway at this point in the year. But I think you really have to clear your mind and think about it in a very reasonable way and make sure that guys are motivated when they come into camp. And our guys were really motivated this year. They want that ring, and not only this year but for years to come too. And I think this is a sustainable thing that we've got going here because we've got good players here now that are under contract for years. We've got a minor league system that is really growing and getting better, and we have an owner that wants to win, and he's willing to spend money to do it. He's not silly with his money, but he's willing to do whatever he needs to do to make sure that we have success. And when you have that, I think you've got something that's sustainable.
You mentioned the spending, and I can't help but think of all the talent that's in your clubhouse, and just the drive that seems to emanate from them. Like, how much does that start with Bryce Harper and what he brings?
Yeah, I mean, Harp is a very motivated guy. He's a very intense guy. He gets frustrated a lot because he's a perfectionist. And I think that bleeds into other people. And I think it shows. And we have a lot of guys in this clubhouse that have great leadership skills. Kyle Schwarber and JT. And there's just, you can go up and down. And we have, not only do we have fun, but we have really motivated people that and accountable people that will hold each other accountable at times too.
Accountability. Sometimes, the next part of that is sharing best practices, going back to hockey for a second. Do you trade notes with anyone in other sports? Maybe not hockey, but football or wherever else?
Not really, because I really haven't had the opportunity to sit down with, because we have our season, and by the time we're done, somebody else is in their season. So I haven't really had much time to sit down with other people and talk about it. But I do talk to other baseball coaches and talk to their baseball managers, because I know a lot of them now. A few of them have played for me in the minor leagues, and worked with me in New York. So, we sort of throw ideas at each other and talk about situations and break it down. And, so it's good communication.
So Rob Thomson, baseball lifer, Canadian Baseball Hall of Famer. You mentioned golf off camera to start. What do you do for an outlet? What do you do for fun?
Well, I relax, but I do like to play golf. My wife and I play tennis every once in a while and pickleball and things like that. But, really I don't have much time to do anything, because even in the off season, I'm traveling, whether we're signing free agents or going to the winter meetings and things like that. I come into Philadelphia to do things around the city at times. So don't really have a whole lot of time to do much. But if I get a chance, I really like to golf and play tennis.
You mentioned pinch yourself. Was there a pinch yourself moment when you get to the World Series in 2022 and there's fans in Citizens Bank Park wearing shirts that say "We Ride with Philly Rob"? Yeah,
that's a little embarrassing, to tell you the truth, but I try to stay humble. My wife does a good job keeping me humble, I can tell you that.
But did she buy a shirt?
She did too. Yeah.
Perfect. Rob, is there anything we can do to get a Toronto Maple Leafs score on the out-of-town scoreboard in right field for the playoffs this week?
I'd have to probably pay for that. I probably can't afford it.
You might know someone. Rob Thomson, such a pleasure to chat with you. Really appreciate getting your insight and learning about your career, and to spend a few minutes with you. Best of luck this season, and I hope your team achieves all of its goals.
Thanks, Frank. Thanks for having me.
What's up, hockey fans? If you enjoyed that video, then you need to be hitting the subscribe button right here at Daily Faceoff. Exclusive interviews and analysis from our hockey insider Frank Saravalli, fantasy updates from Brock Sagan, and a daily live show at noon Eastern Monday through Friday. You don't want to miss any of the fantastic content, so hit that subscribe button.